Powerful hour.
Kids make fun of me because I can't help it. Teachers used to hit me.
Involuntary twitching and noises are a painful part of their lives.
So many people have made fun of her.
Jamie, Kyle, and Samantha suffer from Tourette's syndrome.
All he wants to do is be himself.
One man who shares their pain for being different offers new hope.
The worst damage that was done to me was my own attitude towards myself.
Lives will be changed.
Don't go away. That's coming up right now on Montel.
Growing up wasn't a question of whether I would kill myself, it was a question of when. All I knew is that I seemed to have a demon in my head. I had this malicious being in my head. I mean, it's like a neurological chaos. It can really overload you. And there's sometimes that I just need to vent it all. I just need to flush it all out of my system.
I'd get so angry, I'd think, I'll show it. So I'd tick and I'd hit myself. And I'd say, there, see what happens? See, you freak? That's what happens when you do bizarre, weird, dumb stuff like that. You know, you get hit. It's not fun. It hurts. So cut it out. Don't do it anymore. Quit it. And I'd tick again. There, that's stupid. You're not going to learn that you don't do this stuff. I'd tick again. I'd hit myself again. I'd be ticking more and more and more. I'd be hit myself more and more and more. And eventually I'd give up.
It's a beast to me. It's a hellish beast to me. And I can't stop it, and it's just really hard for me to live with it.
My reaction to finding out Kyle had Tourette's syndrome was total devastation. Everything that we thought we had done right, up to that point, it just didn't seem, that it was fair. He cares about his family, his little brother. He cares about his animals, and he does everything to the fullest.
A lot of kids started making fun of me, and I'm the same as them, and I can do everything that they can, and I'm just a normal kid.
Please welcome Kathleen to the show. It came as quite a shock when you found out your son had Tourette's, correct?
Yes, it did.
But for the longest time, there were things that Kyle would do that you would question, but you put in behavioral issues, correct?
Right. It started, probably about the age of 3 is the first time we really noticed. Just little things like trying to get him to go to bed at night. He would lay in his room and make noises. He'd clear his throat. And we'd get after him, Kyle, you need to get to sleep. You need to get to sleep.
And he would say what to you, Mommy?
I'm trying. I can't stop. I can't stop. And things like at the grocery store, walking down the aisle and having to touch, the canned goods, just run his hand along that.
And that's because some children who suffer from Tourette's also have various other components or maladies that go along with it, correct?
Right.
Like OCD.
Right.
Obsessive compulsive disorder.
That's right.
You finally took him to a neurologist who was able to diagnose him.
Right.
We have several children on the show today who have Tourette's. And I am hoping that I can utilize you in this audience as an example for the rest of the people across America to finally figure out one thing that we all need to figure out. At some point in time, we've got to stop judging people just because they are different than us. We see people outside in this society and they do something. In this case, Kyle, he has what's called tics. For those who don't know what it is, it may be an involuntary neurological movement of a muscle or some muscles in his body. Along with that, he may also, some of the other children have audible tics, we'll call them tics, which is they make noises. Let's get Kyle out here for a second. I want to talk to him. Please welcome Kathleen's 12-year-old son, Kyle, to the show. What's up, Kyle? How you doing?
Good.
Good. Did I do a fairly decent job explaining?
Yes, sir.
You think?
Yes, sir.
Why don't you help me out a little bit more? Because I don't think people understand. It's like I say tic, I say things, but they have to understand what it feels like from your perspective.
Okay.
So you do, why don't you explain to us what some of your tics are first so we can understand them?
My tics are like, I do my fingers. Whenever I do my fingers, it's like popping my knuckles.
Mm-hmm.
It's not really popping my knuckles. It's actually one of my tics. It sounds like popping my knuckles.
It's loud, so you will
Right.
do that
Right.
for a while, okay?
Right. And then I have a arm movement that does this.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have a back, and then I have a neck, and then I have vocals. My vocal,
And what are your vocals?
clear my throat, and sometimes repeating what some other kids say.
Now, right now, you've been out here for a few minutes, and there's no tics?
I know.
Yeah. Ah. So are you controlling them?
Yeah.
Are you trying to stop them
I'm
right
trying
now?
to stop them right now.
You're holding them back.
Holding them back right now.
Okay, you know what I want to do for a
Right.
little bit? Would you, maybe you'll do this for me?
Sure.
Stop holding it back.
Okay.
You just be Kyle.
Okay.
And I want you to be Kyle for the rest of the show. I don't care what anybody thinks. But what upsets you the most about this?
That kids make fun of me because I can't help it and say that you can hold them even though I can't.
You just went on some medication, right?
Right.
And that medication caused what? Does it help?
No. Yeah, it helped.
It helps a lot. You have to take how many pills a day?
17 and a half.
17 and a half pills every day
Yes, sir.
at age 12. This is not to put Kyle on display.
Okay.
I just want you to be you. Take a break. And a teacher one time told you, you better stop squinting your eyes right now.
Yeah, and
And-
I couldn't, and she hit me.
Are you a teen who feels you are the real mom in your family because you have to take care of your siblings and do all the work around the house? If so, call us at 1-800-MONTEL-2. That's 1-800-MONTEL-2.
You know, we're talking today to people who are differently abled. And I think if you watched this last segment, I get upset. I get upset because I can understand how children can react to other children. I get it. You know what I mean? I was in school myself. You know, when you're a child, you make fun of all the kids that are, it doesn't matter whether or not you're a kid who comes from a better family or whatever, you get made fun of. What I can't understand is the adults at all. There's a child, and he's a nice guy. All he wants to do is just be himself. And most of the time, he's got to medicate himself and try his damnedest to make sure he doesn't even come close to irritating anybody else, because you'll say something, you'll give him that look, and then it makes it even worse. Mom, you were saying something about yesterday on the airplane. What were you saying?
We were on our way up here yesterday, and he was on the airplane, and he was working on his homework. So he had the tray down, and he was working. Well, it takes a little bit for him to get a lot of his stuff written, and he would have to stretch and move back, and he was bumping the seat in front of him, and his seat was moved back, and the people in front of him and behind him weren't very happy. And I did hear the lady behind us make a couple comments, you know, about he's going to be in my lap before we know it. And you don't know how to respond to people.
And especially when he's a child. You obviously heard that, did you not? Mm-hmm. And what does that make you feel like when you hear a comment like that?
That I can't. That it makes me feel very sad and just pleased that and just welcome in this world.
That you're not welcome in this world.
Right.
What right do we have to make a child feel that way? Please welcome James to the show. Hey, James. Have a seat, please. What's with you? Why don't you tell us about your daughters?
Well, I have two daughters. The oldest one was diagnosed with Tourette's at age 9. Most of her Tourette's are the muscle tics.
And how does this affect the rest of your family?
Well, our youngest daughter was just diagnosed with this about 3 weeks ago. She's showing some signs of it, but not as much as Jamie is. As far as the household, there's got to be a lot of love. There's got to be a lot of support, because there's a lot of traumatic times that go on in the household, especially when she comes home from school.
I'm sure your daughters talk to you about the teasing and this and that.
Oh yeah, the teasing is constant. The beating ups are constant.
Beating up? Why do you get beat up because you're different?
She does. She gets beat up because she's different. She gets beat up because she's because she's different. Because of the tics that she has. She's called. The worst name I think she's been called is Ticky, because that's exactly what she does. I mean, she's involuntary movements and muscle or vocal sounds. People she was thrown down the stairs because of it.
Why? Wait, let me get her out here. Please welcome James's 13-year-old daughter, Jamie, to the show. Hi, beautiful. How are you? Have a seat. Talk to me for a second, Jamie. Here, what? Two of you slide over for a second. I'm going to sit in the middle here. Because first off, I'm going to let you know this. I just said this to Kyle, and I'm going to say this to you, okay? Today, and this is not to put you on display. Listen to me. I just want you to be you. If you tick, if there's going to be a noise, I don't care. Why don't you tell us what it's been like in school?
Well, kids pick on me like all the time, and they won't knock it off. And I tell them how I feel, but they won't listen to me. They just keep going on and on and on, and they won't stop.
You've also been picked on once or twice by teachers, have you not?
Yeah. And the teachers used to hit me and everything.
A teacher would hit you, why?
Because I wouldn't stop
Wouldn't
making
stop.
noises.
Which one would you do? Which one?
Like squinting my eyes and stuff.
Oh, excuse me, explain. You squint your eyes, and that's part of one of your tics.
Yeah.
And a teacher one time told you, you better stop squinting your eyes right now.
Yeah, and I couldn't, and she hit me.
You've had other things happen in school. You're still trying your best to hold this back, aren't you?
Yeah.
Stop. Come on, relax. Let it go. I mean, honestly, because you know, part of what I think we need to do today, and it's part of the reason why I'm so happy that you're here, Kyle's here, is because most of the time, people fear what they don't understand. They fear what they are ignorant to. And that's really the truth. So they don't understand. They sometimes haven't seen. And I'm not trying to put you in this place so they can see, but I want them to notice that throughout all of this, well, boys, Kyle's been having, he's just chilling right now, okay? Has he done anything to bother anybody? Has he irritated this conversation in any way? We're hanging and chilling. It doesn't, what effect does it have? None. So I want people to understand by the end of this hour that just because we're a little different, it's okay. Now what's going to happen is, see, because you've been sitting here holding back like that, we're going to go to commercial break, you'll know you're on a break, and these people here are going to freak out a little bit. But it's okay. Let them. I want them to understand. I want you to see. I want you to say, if you see a young man or a young person doing this, say, well, let it go. Let's go. Take a break. We'll be back right after this.
They would make fun of her, and Samantha would stand at the door and cry. And she'd go, "Mommy, I want to go." And I always used to tell my family, she can't help it. I don't know what it is, but she can't help it, and please accept her.
Rebecca suspected Marcus of cheating over the internet.
What is he doing on the internet?
Looking for extra people.
How did she catch him? You won't believe it. Joe insists he's never cheated on Kathy.
Why would I leave prime beef to go to Chip Tamp? Look at this girl.
Plus,
I said, for the first time in 6 years of being married, tell me the truth.
Donald cheated before. Is he doing it again? Our lie detector didn't protect anyone, and you won't believe the results.
The truth and nothing but the truth on the next Montel. Well, please welcome Amy and her 15-year-old daughter, Summer, to the show. And hold on a second, before I talk to you guys, I want to come back over here and just ask one more little question. Now, you just changed schools, did you not?
Mm-hmm.
Did you tell anybody at your school about the fact you had Tourette's?
You mean my new school?
Your new school?
No.
So now the new school's going to find out.
Yeah.
So are you worried?
Sort of.
Sort of? Why are you worried?
Because at my other school, when The first time when I went there, nobody knew about it, and I was all popular and everything, but when everybody else started knowing about it, they were all mean to me and everything.
But you do recognize, well, the new school that you're going at right now, I'm hoping that everybody at your new school gets an opportunity to see this. Maybe I'll send a tape to the school and they'll at least address it. But I can't imagine that any of the young people that are at your school, knowing that we've spent this time together and talked about this, would have the nerve to do anything or say something. But you know they're going to, right? Does your boyfriend know? He does know. You told him?
Yeah.
Okay. What's going on over here? Because it's your sister, correct?
My sister.
And what's been happening with your sister, Summer?
Well, we just recently found out that she has Tourette's, and sometimes I get really embarrassed by my sister because, I mean, I love her. I love her to death, unconditionally, no matter what she does.
You told her that recently?
I tell her sometimes, since we found out, I mean, I've really felt guilty of how I've treated her. And
in the past?
Yeah.
You also, even though you've treated her the way you did, along the way, if anybody else attempted to treat your sister differently, what would you do?
Oh, I get very defensive. I get very upset. I will yell at someone. I didn't even know really what was going on with Samantha. We were always told that it was behavior problems. And
that's what you thought, Mom?
No, I always, along the way, knew that something wasn't right with her brain, but I just couldn't quite pinpoint what it was. But I would always tell people, I'd get really upset because they would make fun of her, and certain family members would not take her. They would take my daughter Summer when she was little, and Samantha would stand at the door and cry. And she'd go, "Mommy, I want to go."
She wouldn't be able to go.
Wouldn't be able to go because they always thought it was behavior problems, and I always used to tell my family, she can't help it. I don't know what it is, but she can't help it, and please accept her.
Have things started to get a little bit better since the diagnosis?
Yes, since the medication, things have gotten a little bit better. Samantha's tics don't come out as often. She still has them, but mostly when she's nervous or if she doesn't know you and you're trying to talk to her, they'll come out.
Okay, but now let me ask you a question, see, because I have a feeling that she's doing the same thing that Jamie's doing and the same thing that Kyle's doing, and that is trying their best to not get in anybody's way. So let me just hide mine as long as I can, and then sometime this evening, when I get a chance, I go off. And then when they go off, nobody can understand why they're going off for a period of time, but it's because they've been repressing this thing. I'm so happy that you've been able to at least, how old are you?
I'm 15.
And at 15, you've already made this assessment of yourself? Yeah. You've already been able to look at yourself? Are you working at treating your sister better?
Yeah, I try to treat her as best I can, I try to include her in the stuff that I do. And, I just do my best to do whatever I can for her.
Let's talk to her. Please welcome 13-year-old Samantha to the show. You want her to sit here. Hey, you. Hey, you. How you doing? Good. Go ahead, have a seat. Have a seat. I'm going to tell you the same thing that I told them, okay?
Okay.
This is a safe place, okay? Right here, with me. Do not hold. You don't have to hold this back. If you feel like you need to do something, let it go. Whatever. And part of what I'm trying to do today, honestly, is not to put your daughter on display or them on display. It's to make everybody else out there get a grip. We're the ones who need one. She does not need to. How has this been for you?
I don't know.
You don't know? You don't want to say? You take a break first? Well, hold on a minute. But you see, this is also part of this.
Well, Montel, if I can say something, the reason why she's hard to talk to people is because so many people have made fun of her and treated her so bad that she's scared of everybody.
And I was talking to Kyle, and Kyle was saying to me that he knows that you just got diagnosed. And one of the things he wants to do is to try to show you some of the ropes and let you know what's coming. Because there are some other things that may happen. There are some other reactions that people will have to you that I don't think you've ever seen before. And it's not bad to kind of share some of this. Let me take a break. And you just think a little bit. If you want to talk, we'll talk a little later. All right? We'll take a break. We'll be back right after this. You wanted to Sam, didn't you know? Okay?
It was Jamie.
Jamie. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Jamie, I think you're a really neat person, and I think you could come over to my house this summer and be a... Hey!
Wait. She just said, what did you say?
What did you say?
He said, you know, you're pretty cool. Maybe you can slide over my house this summer. You know what I mean? That's okay, that's pretty good. You know, my next guest says that he felt like a freak during his childhood, and his story is now featured in a documentary called Life's a Twitch. I want you to take a look at this.
I mean, it's like a neurological chaos. It can really overload you, and there's sometimes that I just need to vent it all. I just need to flush it all out of my system. Not only my parents don't understand, not only the other kids laugh at me, not only does God seem to have alienated me, you know, he's given me this thing and he won't get rid of it, but even something in my own head really hates me. It was like I was at war with myself. When I talk about I lived for years wondering when I would kill myself, not whether I'd kill myself, this is the playing field. I must have been, you know, very difficult to be around, and I think on some levels I knew that, and I didn't want to be that, but I didn't know how not to be that. People don't have to feel that way. In a sense, we were all victims of just ignorance.
Please welcome Dr. Duncan McKinley to the show. Doc, I'm so thankful that you decided to come to the show today for multiple reasons. One, because of the young people we have here, and just to let people understand. You've known about Tourette's in your life how long? When were you diagnosed?
I was diagnosed about 10 years ago when I was 19, but I knew something was different about me when I was 7.
And you knew that throughout your whole life?
I did. I felt like I was harboring a big secret, basically. I grew up in a very small town and in a time where there wasn't a lot known about Tourette's syndrome. I mean, thanks to shows like this, there's so much more awareness now, and I thank you so much for that. But at the time, my mother was a nurse by training, but she hadn't really ever heard about this thing. And so anytime anything slipped out, any time I had a tick or an explosion or what have you, I was estranged, I was ostracized, I was ridiculed, and I did the math. I was 7 years old and I went, wow, if I'm letting this much out and I'm getting this huge of a reaction, I'm not going to let it all out. I had scream dreams where I thought people, if they really knew everything I was hiding inside me, they would lock me up. They would put me in a padded room and in a straitjacket and berate me for being a freak. And so I did my best to contain everything.
Hold that thought for a second, because I'm sitting here with Shauna, I'm sorry, darling. And you were just recently diagnosed, right?
Yeah.
So now you're looking here, you're watching up on the stage, your older sister, some other people. Some of this really just started in you, correct? Does this become more larger? Does it exacerbate as you get older? Does it stay the same? The tics that you're born with, do you have for your life?
Right. There's a lot of conflicting research, but basically what people think at this point is that it breaks down into thirds. As you get older, a third of the people stay at the same level, a third of the people the tics disappear, and a third of the people the tics decrease. I tic a lot more now as an adult than I did as a child, not because my neurology's necessarily gotten worse, but because the more and more comfortable I got with myself, the more and more I accepted how I was, and saw that the reactions I was getting said more about other people than it said about me, the more I just freely let it forth. And so I go back to my small town now and everyone's like, wow, what was in the water wherever he went.
Right. But at the same time, are you on any medication?
I'm not, no.
You're not. And you prefer not to be?
Personally, I've made that choice.
Oh, I'm
yes.
sorry, I forgot the biggest point. You set your whole life, once you realized what this was, you set about getting your PhD.
I did.
In what?
In psychology. I'm working as a clinical neuropsychology intern right now.
And you do a lot to help other children and other people who have Tourette's, but also you work with other people.
I've learned in the past 10 years that the worst damage that was done to me was my own attitude towards myself, other people's perceptions of me, and other people's misperceptions of me, and that did far more damage than the symptoms ever could have. And so it's like I've got a new big secret now. I've got the secret to turning things around. I mean, I was depressed, I was suicidal, I was estranged from my family. Now I'm a doctor, I do presentations, I've got a website, I'm doing all the things I want to do, and it's the tics. It's the tics that haven't changed. That it ended up that the tics were irrelevant. It was so many other things that were more important than what I was doing with my head or my mouth or my noises or my thoughts.
You know, when you said I was suicidal, you weren't just suicidal, you made a suicide attempt.
I did. I don't remember the exact year because it was just an abyss, really, a few years in high school there. And I remember one night taking a number of pills. I didn't really know what I was doing, but just took a handful of what I hoped would end things, and end up I didn't know what I was doing. But in my own head, I thought, this is it. As I drifted off to sleep that night, I thought I won't wake up again, and I was happy. I said the Lord's Prayer because I didn't really know what else to do, and in a situation like that, and just felt good. You know, I'm not going to be this burden to my family anymore and to other people.
But then when you woke up and you realized that you're not a burden.
The day I got diagnosed was one of the most pivotal, cathartic days of my life. In a sense, the pre-diagnosis Duncan died then, and a new Duncan began. And the more I became educated in what this devil in my head was, I realized he's not a devil at all. He's just misunderstood the way that I misunderstood. And he can bring me a lot of positives, too. And I need to channel those energies. All those energies that got me in trouble, I need to channel them into something constructive.
And we're happy you did, because that constructive has just created a doctor to help a lot of people. We take a break. We'll be back right after this.
Are you a teen who feels you're the real mom in your family because you have to take care of your siblings and do all the work around the house? If so, call us at 1-800-MONTEL-2. That's 1-800-MONTEL-2.
Diet. So, you know, we're at a place now where I would really like to try to figure out how can we help them understand that it's okay.
I can't think of anything else more tangible I could do in life than help people get around some of the pitfalls that I fell into. One of the things I learned, guys, is that by holding it in and not letting other people see it, I was actually really shooting myself in the foot. For a few reasons. For one thing, when I was holding in those tics all day, you know how that feels. That's like going around with permanent poison ivy, not scratching it for 8 hours. And if the audience thinks about what that would feel like, their nerves would be pretty raw. They'd have a hard time paying attention in class. They'd be getting in trouble for maybe exploding every once in a while because your nerves are so shot. And so those things will cause you a lot more problems than the tics ever will. And so that's one reason that it's good to let the tics out. Another reason it's good to let the tics out is because I used to think, okay, this made sense to my mind. I thought, okay, I'm letting this much out and I'm getting a big reaction. If I let more out, I'll get an even bigger reaction. I'll be giving these bullies even more fuel for the fire. I mean, they can really roll up their sleeves and go to work then. But you know, the opposite happened. Because it was like when I only let a little bit out every once in a while, people thought then, oh, well, he can help it. He's just Duncan goofing around. He's just being the class clown. He's trying to get attention. And so, in a sense, a lot of kids didn't even realize how mean they were being. And the more I started letting it out and just wearing it on my sleeve, this is me, then people maybe didn't necessarily know what it was called, but they could kind of see right off the bat, whoa, I mean, he's got something. And so actually people's reactions started to change a lot then.
Please welcome Loretta and her husband Kyle and their kids, Holly and Jill, to the show. Welcome them. Because Loretta, to let it out, that's exactly what Jill has done most of her life,
Right.
correct? Right, Jill? It's just let it out. But what happened when she let it out in the apartment complex that you moved into?
We had lost our home in a tornado a year ago, December, and we had to move to an apartment temporarily. It was just a temporary lease, but we told the apartment management that she had Tourette's and she could become noisy at times. And 2 weeks or so into our stay, we had received, over a period of time, up to a month while we were there, we received 3 letters.
From?
From the management.
Saying?
About complaining about the noise.
Okay. In your apartment?
In my apartment.
Now, could you please, maybe, Jill, you tell me something. The noise they're talking about is not much louder than anything I've heard here. Correct? I mean, when you tick, and it's okay, all right? When you do tick or you make a noise, her noises are more what? They're like barking noises?
Barking, growling.
Growling. I mean, and this is not all day.
But she gets loud.
Yeah, but so what? I mean, I've lived in an apartment complex where everybody's loud.
That's right.
So this came, you got 3 letters, and then what happened?
They said that they were not going to renew our lease. We had been told that we could rent on after our short-term lease, month to month, and they told us we could not do that any longer.
So you had to get out.
We had to leave.
So Duncan, this is 2002, and we are now denying a person rent based on their illness? Don't we have a disabled act in America that prevents people from being able to do that?
I can't speak much about American law because I'm up north of the border,
Okay.
but certainly it's wrong. And if there's a situation where you're not causing anyone any harm, and it really says more about them than it does about you, and it's their problem, make sure it stays their problem. Don't let it affect your own self-esteem. Have a moment of silence for the normies that are just too narrow-minded to get it.
What has this been like for you, darling? And it's okay. You can talk about it. You don't want to talk about it.
It's been hard on you.
I know. And see, this is part of it. This again is part of the issue. I mean, we as a society can make a child feel so bad that she doesn't even have a right to say.
So we even had neighbors that came down and confronted her, beating on our doors early in the morning.
And saying what?
Complaining about the noise that she was making. And yelled and screamed at her.
We take a break. We'll be back right after this.
If you are in the New York area and would like to be a part of our studio audience, please call 212-989-8101 or email us at tickets@montelshow.com. Please be sure to include your phone number.
He's in.
You know, I thought we'd just take just a minute, and this is for the 3 of you, for just a second. Duncan probably knows more about your malady than anyone on this planet. And I say that only because, personally, you've lived through it, you've been able to assess it, you've been able to understand it, you've gone to school to understand all the effects of it. And I just, it's not that I'm shirking my responsibility, but I just want you. I think you ought to talk to them for a minute. Because they don't want to talk to me anymore anyway. This isn't Kyle, he just wants to come hang out.
All right, we'll let Montel chill and we'll just have a session over here. One of the really important things that I learned, guys, is that there's so many people that react out there, like we've been talking about in the show. Like 99% of people, they're going to jump, or they're going to laugh, or they're going to cross the street because they're scared, or whatever. One thing I've learned is to have sort of like a tick buffer zone, to sort of expect that about 99% of people are going to react, because it's not that they're mean. It's not that they hate you and they want to make you feel bad about yourself. It's because most people aren't born with a file in their head that says things to do when someone barks at me. They're just sort of stunned for a second. It's like getting that test pattern on the TV channel at 3 in the morning. They don't know what to do.
And so sort of the first thing that they think of slips out. They laugh or they turn away or whatever. Once you start to realize that, once you start to realize that, and after, you know, maybe about 3 reactions, you realize that these people aren't laughing anymore. They're looking away, and they're not paying attention anymore. You realize, okay, that wasn't a mean person. That was just someone that didn't get it, and I just helped educate them. And that's something you can feel. Hello.
I'll give you some else.
Yeah, sure. And that's something you can be really proud of for yourself, because when you help someone else understand a little bit more what's going on, that's going to help the next person after you. I know that some of you are thinking about doing a class presentation, and it's a really good idea, and I want to give you some tips for it.
Wait, now Kyle, you have drawn up a history of Tourette's or something, correct?
I already have.
You have? That's going to be your class presentation?
It's already passed.
It's already, but what'd you get? What grade did you get?
I got a 98.
Hey,
that's cool.
Good man. Alrighty. That's awesome.
That's what I'm talking about.
You know, we just heard about how well you did on this project. While I was backstage, I was listening to what a good artist you are. And this is one reason I love meeting kids with Tourette's, because one of the awful things that happens is that we're so busy plugging the holes on all the negative stuff. Oh, I don't want to shake my head. Oh, I don't want to make that weird noise. Oh, I don't want to get stuck on this thought. We're missing all the really positive things that all this extra energy can bring. That it's not in spite of your Tourette's that you're really good at doing those projects. It's because of your Tourette's. It's not in spite of your Tourette's you're creative. It's because of it. And you know, the more that you look at Tourette's as a quality of yourself, not just negative, not just positive, and you sell it that way. You go into the classroom and say, hey, I've got something kind of quirky. It's kind of neat. It's called Tourette's. I want to tell you about it. There's a number of famous people with it, and they're doing pretty well. And you know, here's some positive things that it's brought to my life. Then people realize, hey, this isn't necessarily something to be sad about or to be picked on. You know, maybe I want Tourette's.
Or at least, maybe I can keep my mouth shut because I understand it. We'll take a break. We'll be back.
Specialist.
Well, my next guest said that he was discriminated against because of his Tourette's. I want you to take a look at this.
His arms convulse involuntarily. His intermittent coughing punctuates his words. John Miller suffers from Tourette's syndrome, but he says that's no reason to treat him like an outcast.
They took my strength away, the physical being and the mental being. They took part of my soul.
Miller joined Gold's Gym in Totowa when it first opened up back in 1997 to work out and help control his condition. But a little more than a year later, he found his doors shut. The health club ended his contract, saying he violated the rules. Miller found himself on the outside looking in, he says, because he suffers from Tourette's.
There was people that worked there that would tell me, be quiet. I'm upsetting members.
The owner of the gym, made famous by Arnold Schwarzenegger, stands by her decision to terminate Miller's membership.
When you have an affliction, you know, nobody in the world, should bring you down.
Welcome, John, to the show. John, how are you? How are you, sir? Thank you. You were working out in the gym. On occasions, you would tick. Is that correct?
Correct, yeah.
And in the gym, your tics would be audible tics? Would you motion, physical emotion? What?
Yeah, a little bit of everything. Vocal, like a lot of movement, arm jerks and.
But your arm jerks are. I mean, I work out in gyms all over America. So
right.
I mean, if you were standing beside me, you didn't hit anybody while you were arm jerking. Didn't drop any weights on anybody, did you?
Absolutely not.
Did you ever take a piece of equipment from another person that they were trying to use? Did you
Absolutely
get in the way or stop another person from physically exercising?
Yeah, I would help.
What do you think precipitated you being removed from the gym?
Mm-hmm. People, judge books by their covers, and it shouldn't be. I was at that gym for a long time.
You do have some louder outbursts.
Yeah,
but even being loud, you should see me and a group of friends that I work out with, because I power lift. And so there's a group of powerlifters. I'm sure in your gym, at Gold's Gym, there had to be a group of powerlifters. And these are guys back in the corner, screaming, yelling, cursing, grunting, throwing chalk, You name it. Am I lying?
You're right on the money. With the Tourette's, you know, when you physically work out, you know, not even in the gym, you know, any kind of working out, you know, what you're doing is, you know, you're conditioning, you know, and strengthening muscles. And you're actually, you're training your mind, you know, and your soul and everything else, you know, to feel better. You know, they just really, you know, they didn't want to look, you know, at what, you know, I had. The only thing they could do was throw me out, and they didn't want to know nothing else, you know.
One of the advantages, one of the gifts that Tourette's gives you is that whereas one person in this fellow's gym might react quite badly and where you'll react not at all, we know just like that sort of the caliber of person we're around. And so while maybe I could have worked out in that gym for years and years and years and years, not knowing sort of how the people were around me, with the Tourette's, I'm able to sort of get a take right off the bat about how people are. And you know what? I can make the decision. I don't want to be around you.
Gotcha. We're going to take a little break. Got to take a break. We'll be back right after this. Thank all of our guests for being here. Duncan, please keep up the work that you are doing. If there's anything we can do to help you, please let us know. We'd like to try. I want to thank all 5 of you for being here. And I know I can't look into the camera and call out each one of your school's names, but I'm going to say right now, publicly, the 5 of the young people that I have on my stage right now, I intend to keep an eye on. I intend to check up on every now and then. I intend to see how people are reacting to them. And woe be it to you to have me tell a story about the way you acted in school last week just because Kyle or Samantha or Jill or Shauna or Jamie walked in and did something. Woe be it to you because I will talk right about you. Watch me. Join us in the next one.